The ROG series of gaming phones have successfully failed 2 of their last 6 smartphone releases. And while a 60% survival rate might be good for Fortnite, it is absolutely terrible for a $1,500 smartphone. Speaking of money though, I want to tell you about a cool experience. I've been manufacturing off-road wheelchairs for about 3 years now. We do have a new 4-wheel drive version coming next month, but that's not what I want to talk about. I had a company called Chime reach out and ask if they could donate $1,000 to the next 5 machines we sell in exchange for me mentioning their award-winning credit card, which has no hidden fees or monthly minimums. And good on their word, my off-road wheelchairs are now discounted by $1,000. So thanks to Chime for sponsoring this video. Cool brands are always cool to work with. It's very difficult to buy a car or home these days without credit, and the Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa credit card helps build credit with everyday purchases, all while having no annual fees, no interest, no minimum security deposits, and it only takes 2 minutes to sign up. If you want to start building your own credit with 24/7 live human customer support and use your card everywhere where Visa cards are accepted, chime.com/jerryrig. You also get a checking account with access to 60,000 fee-free ATM machines and get your money up to 2 days early with direct deposit. Chime.com/jerryrig. Thanks to Chime for sponsoring this video. Now let's see what kind of durability $1,500 will get you. ROG has been using the same pyramid-style box for quite a while now, and maybe the unboxing experience is where a good chunk of that $1,500 goes. I'm not sure. Inside the sarcophagus, we have a cloth carrying case, which I assume is for the aeroactive cooler. If you remember last year, the ROG 7 Ultimate had an external fan contraption that would blow down air into the phone through a motorized vent that would cool off the processing hardware. This year it has the same external fan contraption, but instead of blowing air inside the phone, it just thermoelectrically cools the surface, which then cools the interior with something called a rapid cooling conductor underneath the back glass. We'll get a chance to see all that in just a second if the ROG 8 Pro snaps in half. Historically speaking, we've got pretty good odds of that happening. The 8 Pro does have a pre-installed temporary screen protector. When it comes to a screen scratch resistance, we've seen the whole spectrum. Displays with plastic on the exterior, like the Apple Vision Pro, scratch at a level 3, while sapphire screens like the Duraforce Ultra scratch at a level 8 or 9. Normal smartphones, like this 8 Pro with its Gorilla Glass Victus 2, start scratching at a level 6, with deeper grooves at a level 7. The upper hole punch 32 megapixel selfie camera is tucked up into the front glass, getting that same scratch protection. And that circular camera is sitting below an ultra-thin earpiece slit, which contains the upper stereo spatial speaker. The right side has capacitive gaming triggers on each corner, a metal volume rocker, and metal power button. And apparently, just like Samsung, the buttons are removable. However, unlike Samsung, these buttons do not click back into place. Once the buttons escape, they are gone and will not go back into their home no matter how much I push and pry. I feel like a $1,500 smartphone shouldn't be doing that. But this is also the first time ROG has tried waterproofing their gaming phones, so there might just be a few kinks to work out. Or maybe that kink is me. Again, I don't know. Self-awareness is not my forte. The top of the phone is metal. The right side of the phone has an accessory USB-C port for that cooling fan, as well as makes for a good spot to charge while gaming horizontally. The bottom is where we find our second USB-C charging port. This one is 65 watts. There's also a SIM card tray, second spatial stereo speaker, and a headphone jack. If you know what that is, make sure you're doing your stretches at night so your back stays healthy. One reason that the ROG 8 Pro is looking a bit less aesthetically interesting than last year is because it's finally water resistant. Sealed up IP68. And yeah, I get it, protection is a good thing and all that. But I will miss the excitement that comes with seeing something visually cool and entertaining every year from the ROG line. Waterproofing, while important of course, makes all phones look the same, except for this hidden trick. A completely invisible under-glass programmable 341 mini LED matrix. It appears to just be a single color this time around, no RGBs like we've historically seen on gaming phones. This hidden matrix can display the time, phone status, or the ROG logo, among other things. I'm very interested in seeing how this works from the inside. But alas, the exterior is not yet sufficiently scrutinized. ROG has a 50 megapixel main camera on the 8 Pro, this time with a gimbal-style optical image stabilization. Hopefully we'll see that in a second too. If you can't tell, I'm excited to get inside. There's a 13 megapixel ultra-wide and a 32 megapixel 3x telephoto. Along with the under-display optical fingerprint scanner on the front, our power button keeps on wanting to jump ship. Even when that scanner is faced with level 7 deeper grooves, it can still see and unlock the phone with my fingerprint every single time. The pixels on top of that scanner make up a 6.7-inch LTPO AMOLED display with 1 billion colors, 2,500 nits, and a 165 Hz refresh rate, which lasts for about 20 seconds under the heat from my lighter. Speaking of heat, my particular ROG 8 Pro came with an Aeroactive cooler, a contraption that normally costs about $100 all by itself. This guy can substantially reduce the surface temperature of the back cover by almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The fan is not actually for the phone, but for the backside of the Peltier cooler. Peltier coolers are fascinating. It's not just blowing air, but electronically freezing itself. Keep in mind though that if you stab this cooler one too many times with some tweezers, it'll toss a fan blade above that Peltier cooling fin, which might inhibit its cooling ability. Finally, it's time to see how structurally sound a $1,500 ROG 8 Pro really is. A 60% survival rate is indeed slightly better than flipping a coin. When bent from the front, there is some major flex going on, but no catastrophic damage. When bent from the back, right above that mini LED matrix, again, no damage. It looks like the ROG 8 Pro survives. Spoke too soon. The ROG 8 Pro cracks during the bend test. The back glass appears to be completely shattered, with cracks emanating from a central point in the center of the panel, but that does appear to be the only damage. While cosmetic carnage might be bad news for the ROG 8 Pro, it is great news for us, since now we can see what in the world that rapid cooling conductor looks like over the processor. We'll see if it's even half as cool as the copper cooling fins from last year. Historically, ROG divides their phone into 5 sections, 3 circuit board sections, and 2 completely separate battery modules. And it looks like this back glass might have cracked right along the upper motherboard and battery seam, which is also right in the middle of the newly added 15-watt wireless charging coil. The wireless charger would be cool to look at if this was 2012, but something we haven't seen before is the hidden programmable mini LED matrix, which when pulled away from the back panel looks incredibly reasonable. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but honestly it looks exactly like what I should have been expecting. And these lights can be seen through the rear glass from either direction. Not gonna lie, I would be incredibly excited to see these diodes cover the entire backside of the phone next year. A massive matrix of these would definitely give the Nothing phone a run for its money. Every phone really. And if that matrix included color RGBs, it would be the coolest phone on the planet. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Continuing on our quest for that rapid cooling conductor means we have to go a bit deeper. The diodes get unplugged and the wireless charger comes out, and then a metal plate gets taken off the top of the motherboard. Now, ROG says that the whole reason for a rapid cooling conductor is so that heat can move from the processor through a conductive metal pathway out to the backside of the phone when that Aeroactive cooler is installed. The only issue we find is that conductive path does not quite reach the backside of the phone. We still have an air gap, which is not conductive, and 2 plastic layers on either side of that wireless charging coil. These all disrupt that clean conductive pathway that the rectangular rapid cooling conductor is supposed to provide. The copper block is slathered in boron nitride thermal paste. Boron nitride looks like frosting, but I can assure you it does not taste like frosting. The rapid cooling conductor is not the only cooling happening inside the phone. If we remove the upper and lower screws and the messy maze of flexible ribbon cables, each of which unplug like a little Lego, we can then peel up the motherboard, finding more not yummy boron nitride thermal paste that's connecting the processor to an under-display vapor chamber cooling system that most smartphone manufacturers are utilizing. Since day one, ROG has come up with some pretty unique and creative cooling methods for their smartphones, and it's always interesting to see what they try next. While that copper rapid cooling conductor might have a slightly impeded pathway to the Aeroactive thermoelectric cooler mounted on the back, personally I don't think it's an issue. With the massive temperature difference that the Peltier's solid-state heat pump provides, I don't think that the air gap will matter in the slightest. There's enough passive heat dissipation happening out the front, and with the almost 100-degree temperature difference on the back, the active heat dissipation is more than enough to bridge the small air gap to let heat escape out the back as well. I think the two cooling methods are definitely enough to get the job done. The last three things I want to see, besides the permanently attached dual battery system, is the lower and upper stereo spatial speakers, which do have foam balls inside, kind of leaking all over the place in here. The second thing I want to see is the camera system and its hybrid gimbal stabilization. The top 13 megapixel ultra-wide does not have OIS. The 3x telephoto does have OIS, but the 50 megapixel camera has a 6-axis OIS system, which means it can not only pull in and out and left and right, but also has 3 degrees of tilt compensation to help stabilize images, just like a handheld gimbal. Rather impressive. Apple has their sensor shift stabilization, which is pretty cool, but I think ROG has the next most complex stabilization that we've ever seen. I would love to try it out, but my phone is a bit out of commission at the moment. The last thing I want to see before we let this phone rest in peace is the vapor chamber. Super hard to compete with the OnePlus 12 this year and their absolutely massive double-stacked unit of a vapor chamber. As we pop off the screen, we can see a super small lensless optical fingerprint reader, and under a graphite sheet, we finally find the vapor chamber itself, which stretches over both batteries and the main motherboard. The vapor chamber pulls heat from all three things at once and lets that heat escape out through the super thin screen. Heat from that processor turns liquid inside the chamber to vapor, and as the vapor cools, it gets wicked back to the center with the metal mesh to repeat the process over and over in a closed-loop system, efficiently removing excess heat. Smartphones are pretty fascinating little bundles of science, and the ROG specifically always manages to keep things interesting. I'm glad you're subscribed here with me to see how it all works on the inside. Do you want an LED matrix on your own phone? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks a ton for watching. I'll see you around.